have to take your own plate. So that's your task. So let's begin our lunch and let's enjoy that together. Third. Over here. Oh, I see.
Grab your plate.
I think it's one of them.
Can I get? Are you going to sit with us here? Because you might as well. Can I get you something to drink?
I'll grab some water.
Okay.
Thank you, Doc.
So I think the song part is wow. Well, I'm trying to figure out which direction would go, but I'm not fairly sure. I just need to get to the.
Hey, how are ya?
The devil eggs. I know. But you know, you never make it for yourself. Oh, where do you live, honey? And will you adopt me? Can you please adopt me? Really? Oh my gosh, that's just, I love it. But you know, it's one of those things. And I actually have friends that have fresh eggs, so you can get them. And so that's, and I should be able to, but by the time back there, it's silly. But I probably wouldn't eat them all if I just made a dozen eggs. I probably would eat them.
We were, but Sam wanted to.
Okay, is that your book? Okay.
That's where I sat with
Okay.
Sam.
Bumped you, huh? Okay.
Sam wanted, not these things, Sam,
Yeah.
another thing.
Are you going through or you
You get your plate off of the table. Back there, get your plate.
take the paper back there?
They're on the invite.
Ken, I see you go over that.
Yeah.
Back there. Yeah, I know. I want to. Yeah.
Yeah. You want some iced tea? I'll get it for you. Okay. You gotta take your glasses off.
Oh, that cherry water.
Yeah, I tried that too.
Go that way.
That helps trouble. Give me a little bit more.
Love that outfit. Hi, you. I did not recognize it. Do you use it? Oh, did they just get here? Oh my goodness. Look up at me, please. Don't smile. And then drop out. All right, now.
Is that your ranch up there?
So you want to know if it's correct? Is it correct?
Well, this is what actually is being broadcast. It'll be just a little while before there's a 30-second or so difference.
How are you? Yeah, how are you two doing? I see the garden, all the activities in your garden. I need to get over there and mow, but we've been doing other things, and then I thought I would do it. I'm not volunteering. To go over, but I haven't made it I just went home, I'm gonna talk tomorrow. Happy to see the bridge, the underpass done in there. Uh-huh.
Hello again, friends. If I can have your attention, we promised you we would start at 12:30 with what I'm calling the festivities, and there are a lot of festivities. My name is Cliff White, and I am the pastor of the Presbyterian Church across the street and the Presbyterian Church right here. We are absolutely delighted, and I can't overstate that. We are absolutely delighted that this space today is being used to honor Mike Mahoney. And it's a stunning thing to look out and see so many people that knew him and loved him, and the stories, I'm sure, are going to be amazing to hear. So at some point in our program, I'm going to do an imitation of the old Phil Donahue show, and I'm going to take this microphone and we'll just go around, and if there's anybody that's got a story or a quip or something like that just to share about Mike, we'll do that for a while, and I'm sure there's so many we might have to cut it off. But nonetheless, we will do that a little bit later. So again, welcome. There's another thing I want to say. Now, I'm a Presbyterian minister, which means that I have the occasion and the opportunity to do a lot of funerals. But I'm going to tell you, this is my kind of service right here. This is my kind of service, because not only we're going to eat, we've eaten, and we're going to keep eating. And then following that, we're going to have a few things to say about our friends, and then a lot of things to say about our friends. There's going to be some music. And then the service will continue next door. So, because that's a vital part of the service. That's how somebody is actually going. So we'll walk next door and lift the spirit, so to speak, and enjoy remembering our friends. So one thing I need to say, if anybody needs the restroom, they're back in the back, go through that doorway there, and that facility is available to them. So we're going to begin, and you obviously keep eating, and you need to get food around, that's okay too. Thank you for all the food. Thanks to those folks who have been volunteering to put the things together. I don't know all of who have been doing that, so I won't name any names, except the name of Linda Pryor, who has put together this service very well. And Linda's also going to sing for us. I think that's true too. So we're going to begin, and we're going to begin with some specific targeted memories of our friend Michael Riggs Mahoney. What a man. What a Michael Riggs Mahoney. By the way, Maureen, welcome, and happy you're here also. Pat, and Pat, yes, okay. Hey, Pat, glad you're here. Good to see you too. All right, so let's begin, and we're going to call on first to speak about Mike's experience and knowing him through the waterworks here in Blackman, and Dick Franz is going to make that tribute. Dick's somewhere. There. Okay. Dick, you want to come on up, or you want the microphone? I'll bring it to you. I'm happy to bring it to you.
Then I might fall over.
Let's do that. By the way, while I'm walking over, I noticed, you notice this display here of all of Mike's hats, and Mike always had exquisite hats, so I feel like it's a very important thing to honor Mike, to wear a hat. So I'm not being rude. My brother taught me, take off your hat and put on a hat. We're wearing this hat and several hats just to honor Mike, so that's why we're doing it. Okay. Dick Franz.
Well, thank you for everybody.
Closer to your mouth. Closer to your mouth.
Okay. Okay, just a comment. When I received the news from Kirk that told me about Mike's passing, I was floored and shocked. And, you know, I see him riding his bike all over the place. And it just took me time to get past that whole thing. I feel like I've lost one of my best friends. And I first met Mike at the Carter's house, the Barker Inn, and there was a little gathering there, and he was there, and he and I ended up in the same corner talking about. I'm really a biologist, but interested in historic biology also, and we've been talking about all kinds of stuff. And
he so impressed me that I told him, I also volunteer, I'm retired from the University of Florida. I also told him that we were putting together an environmental education center here in Palatka at the Riverworks, or Waterworks, excuse me. And I invited him to come over and visit us sometime. We, as a group, get together on Wednesday. He showed up on Wednesday. And he was so impressed with all the things that we were doing out there. Community gardens, we had this upland community with goat tortoises. We had the old water plant for Palatka. And in 1986, it moved on, the water plant moved on to another site, and this was an abandoned site. And a bunch of people in Palatka decided to create this environmental space. And Mike was very much involved. And once we got there, his black light was leaning against the railing every Wednesday. He came all the time. Anyway, the various jobs that Mike had during his time, well, we were cutting grass, we were caring for the community organic garden, we constructed, greeting visitors, and on occasion we had kids from the local school systems visit us and taken around and talked about some of the habitat that we have out there, some of the animals. Anyway, he was amazing. No matter what job he was given, he was very much to himself. He would take that job and go to work, and the next thing I know, at lunchtime, he was back at the lunchtime. He always brought his own little veggies to our lunch for he was involving all kinds of different things. He did. He always had his vegetables. And the other thing too, he was so knowledgeable. He and I would sit and talk for spurts of time each time we were about this community, about the natural history of this area, the St. John River. It was just, it was truly an interaction you truly missed. In fact, last night I was sitting listening to some music, and all of a sudden I welled up in tears, and it was for him. It's like, that's me. I'm 82 years old. I'm still kicking around. But anyway, we're going to miss him and the energy he brought. So, if you have any questions, I'll be around. Thank you, Dave. Let me point out also that Shan Pierman, where'd she go? Shan Pierman has come back home from Atlantic Beach just to be a part of this. Of course, the Waterworks is a huge part of your life, Shan, so glad you've been back. Next on your program is me. I'm going to speak briefly on something called the Palatka Science League Book Club. Now, why are you laughing? The Science League actually is a thing that exists. It has a regular meeting. The library actually exists over at Uncocked and Wine. And if you go in there, there's this collection of books, and they're really good books. They really are. I mean, it's serious. It's just that the meeting of at least the initial three of us, me, Danny Sheffield, and John Janiak, was bookish. There was a book on the table. It was science-ish. Something sciencey might come up. It really did, but other topics would come up. But let's face it, I think that Science League Book Club was more about a craft beer to start, and it still is. But so our meetings are always right there on the sidewalk at Uncorking and Wine, and then one day, up walks, and I can't remember exactly what the occasion was, but up walks this gentleman who's got one of those familiar hats on, and he's walking down the sidewalk, and he's got a something draped, a bag of some kind, draped over his shoulder, and he's got this purposeful walk. He's got this exquisite mustache, and I appreciate it because I wore one for 18 years. So you think, okay, this guy's wearing a mustache, that means something. And that very engaging smile, a very engaging smile. That picture is perfect. Very engaging smile. So here comes Mike Mahoney to sit with us, and the experience of sitting with Mike, and this is how I know Mike. A man who was just continuously interesting as a man and a person, and the reason for that was he was continually interested. Almost everything that came up, he would have an interest in, or he would pursue a line of questioning. And the conversations were always very challenging, not challenging in the sense of any kind of contention, challenging in the sense that Mike had that capacity to ask you that next question. Okay, we talked in the process of talking, I told you everything I know, and he had the capacity to ask you that next question that you can answer. Not meant to humiliate you with how little you knew, but simply keep pushing the subject, keep pushing the learning, keep pushing the intrigue, keep doing that. And that became sheer pleasure. It really did. Mike had the capacity to challenge you intellectually without making you feel stupid. And that's a gift. That's a gift. That really is. And the range, those you know him, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. The range, his conversational range, was amazing. The conversational range. I understand from a conversation I had with Carolyn that he and your son were talking about ocean currents, deep
And reefs and sandbars.
and reefs and sandbars. I don't talk too much about those subjects. Probably most of us don't. But his capacity, his conversational range was just amazing. And the other thing I remember about Mike is he would join us for breakfast at the Mahoney Cafe. And in that bag we carried, he had 4 sauces and several seasonings. So, not to insult the cook, just to say he has no particular taste, has no particular desire for how something would be. So, nothing to pull out a couple of sauces and some seasonings and put on whatever he was having, which I found delightful. It's what an utterly delightfully quirky thing to do. So, although I didn't know him long and didn't know him very deeply, I had a tremendous appreciation, as I said, for his conversational range, but also for his capacity to respect you in conversation. And that's really good. So I'm so grateful for having known. And as I read his bio matches what I thought might be true. So I'm happy to share that with you now. We are going to hear something of the seafaring man from Bob Griffin.
I sat in on a couple of the science league meetings, and I felt pretty comfortable there because there was actual science involved with what BS. Okay. I'll stand up here, just let myself at the beginning and say, I'll be brief. There's a lot. WOW is a group of the people at every table that have been at WOW, and it's an excuse for retirees and about retirees to start drinking earlier in the week. Michael was a mainstay of our group there, and always, just a great conversationalist, a wonderful friend and participant. You always knew you were going to learn something from Michael. When he looked at you and gave you this, he said, I always stopped and paid attention when I saw that gesture. But we all brought different food items to the WOW, pretend like we weren't there just drinking. Michael always brought the same thing. He brought manchego, which is on the table over here, and almonds. He never brought anything else, always brought that. So we knew we were going to have that. But what a great guy. What a wonderful friend. What a marvelous intellect. And sartorial splendor beyond, well, everybody I know. And we're having the site difficulties and everything. One of the best readers ever. You know, he read everything. We found out that there was not going to be a St. Patrick's Day parade. So that's kind of disgraceful. So we decided we'd have a St. Patrick's Day parade. So we got Suzanne's convertible and put 4 or 5 lovely Irish lassies on the back. And we had Tim and Bob and Michael led the car as we marched around the block. They had the Irish flag, and as we went around, we waved to the crowd. We saw one person. So this was loud. We went around the block and we came back and we had our St. Patrick's Day parade. Yeah, for bar to bar, yeah. Bob, you led the way. We wouldn't have gotten home without you. You know, Michael took off not long after college and headed to the Bahamas. I believe he told me he originally started traveling around on the mail boat, which is like you could go everywhere there. You know, just you got to be on the dock at 3 o'clock in the morning when the mail boat goes. But he didn't just take off on the adventure of a lifetime. He took off on a lifetime of adventure, and that was the way he lived his life. It was beautiful. We'll see his North Sea 17 up there in a little while. And such a wonderful family the Mahoneys are. Mortimer, his grandfather, basically invented parimutuel racing for in this country. His father, Rex Mahoney, well, they were both bookies, you know, of course. But they really did a great deal to create the racing industry as we know it, both in South Florida, and Patrick has spent 50 years working in racing and salvaged New York Racing Commission. And Maureen is just lovely people, a wonderful family, and they have a horse race named after them. How many of you have a horse race named after them? I don't even have a cat named after them. They always, on the wine cruise for the Barker product, Michael always made sure he got slotted behind the bar back there as uncorking the wine from the wine cruise, because he knew he would be on the wine cruise. And I miss him coming over and swimming in the pool when he couldn't get to, the public pool wasn't open. But I just think of him sailing out, and Michael, I'd say, as always, fair winds and following seas.
Not the adventure of a lifetime, but a lifetime. That's very nice. I like it a lot. Now we're going to hear from Barker with Mike. Mike, I don't know where you are.
I think I'll stand by the food table, one of my favorite positions. Well, this is certainly exciting today to see all these faces. It's been an amazing couple of weeks going through the transition, as you said, Dick. It's been tough for a lot of us, and Mike and I were pretty close. So what I did was I had to write down my speech. So I'm going to read it. I was honored when Linda Kreider asked me to say a few words today. Absolutely, no doubt. Where does one start with a eulogy for a Renaissance man? The way everybody's talking, he was clearly a Renaissance man. Well, according to Urban Dictionary, a Renaissance man is an enlightened, well-rounded, awesome guy with many talents. I think we can all agree to that. Mike was those things and more for sure. He and I first met around 2016 when he hit town here. After a few sentences of conversation, I knew right away he was a skillful communicator. We've been talking about that. A man of many interests. He was an interesting person. He was always intrigued with our local Bartram history, my colorful character interpretations, and he even attended several of our Bartram Trail Society of Florida meetings, but he quickly realized that sitting in a meeting listening to people talk wasn't his bag. I know the feeling. but his curiosity and interest never waned in the subject, just like we've all been saying. My lovely wife Carol is with me here this afternoon, who loves food, recipes, and cooking, had several interesting culinary conversations with Mike. We've been talking about his attention to detail. He was quite an innovative chef, you know. Carol and Mike served wine together on those very famous Bartram Frolic cruises that Bob was mentioning earlier. And during that time, the conversations often turned to their shared love of food. During the 2022 Bartram Trail Society of Florida event, Mike brought a delicious multi-grain cornbread that Carol asked him if he'd be willing to share the secret family recipe. Several weeks went by, and she assumed he had forgotten. But lo and behold, Mike proceeded to produce a detailed 5-page handwritten recipe. Mike knew the recipe by heart, but his sister Maureen helped document the exact ingredients and measurements. Then Mike proceeded to add personalized, detailed nuances that no one would ever know just by reading the recipe. So Mahoney's multi-flour cornbread is now one of our family's treasured recipes, and we hope you have been enjoying a slice during our celebration meal today. Yeah, so there's a few recipes left here if you're interested. Well, people, as I get choked up here, that's about all I have to say in this condensed eulogy. Mike will be missed but never forgotten. His spirit is in a peaceful place now among the stars. I will always remember his friendship, his kind demeanor, savvy communication, willingness to help, especially at the wine bar, extraordinary and tasty culinary skills, a strong natural resources conservation ethic, that bushy Irish mustache, and the sparkle in his eyes.
Thank you. Very, very wonderfully well done. All right. The good news is we're ahead of schedule. So now we're going to do the slideshow, and then we're going to call for Linda Crocker.
Yeah.
Thank you all for coming. Isn't enough? Mike, you started and I told you I wouldn't make it through if you kept it up. But, it's wonderful having this community here with Maureen and Pat and his friend from Stewart and far away to help celebrate the life of a pretty incredible man that we all knew and loved. And I wanted to put this together in order to share in what his life was about. Came to an end way too soon, but it was so full all the way to the end. I wanted to thank BJ and Annie who helped create this beautiful setting, and First Press for welcoming us here. I wanted to point out the waterworks bench that Danny Sheffield made down here, made in honor of Mike, and we're going to have a plaque put in the middle of it, and then we'll go to waterworks. So Danny, thanks so much for that. So many people have contributed on this, and Jack putting the slide program together just in so many ways, making this possible. Barbara, a signed guest book, please remember to sign that if you haven't already. And on the back of your program is a song that I wrote years ago for an Irishman named Mike Mahoney, who stumbled up my sidewalk and ended up living in my marriage house at the Bartram Inn for many years and becoming one of my dearest friends. We actually traveled to Ireland twice to do bicycle tours. And he said, if you sing that song in bars in Ireland, you'll never have to buy your own beer. And I always hoped that was true. I had Sam Wimberly, my good friend, here to back me up because I thought I may not make it through this song. Sam, you want to come on this side? Yeah, maybe Jack, you want to go ahead and turn that off just because it's kind of blinding us right now. But I'm hoping I put it on the back of the program so everyone would sing it with me because it's a drinking song for an Irishman. And there's a chorus where you have to raise your glasses. So if you've got a glass of tea or coffee or something there, you're going to just raise your glass and get to that part. So the chorus goes like this. It's a song for an Irishman filled with good cheer. Here's, this is where you raise your glass. Here's to the Irish sound vessel stout beer. One more time. Look at it. It's a song for an Irishman filled with good cheer. Here's the Irish sound vessel stout beer. Stories of Ireland and out the sea. Sailors and whalers these fishermen be. Dear to the heart as their loved ones may be. Once soft and tides beckon, they're off to the sea. It's a song for an Irishman filled with good cheer. Here's the Irish sound vessel stout beer. Wanderers, wanderers, heading on up, filled with good humor, no shortage of luck. Dancing and singing and telling the tales of lust for life's pleasure, strong whiskey, dark ale. It's a song for an Irishman filled with good cheer. Here's the Irish sound that's stout beer. Drawers and currants and things always hookers, sailors and rowers, workers and lookers. Here's to the Irish, so proud and so free, these gentle and clever men of the sea. It's a song for an Irishman filled with good cheer. Here's to the Irish sound vessel south beer. Thank you. Well, we're a little ahead of schedule, and Sam has a St. John's River song, and he said he'd like to do that in honor of Mike. So Sam, go ahead.
If you ever been on the St. John's River, you'll understand this song. And this fit Mike perfectly. Song I wrote several years ago, so I knew Mike, but it fits his perfectly. There's nothing like cruising down the river in the morning on St. John, waiting for the fog to disappear on the rays of the morning sun, watching those gators flying on the bank with turtles on an old cypress stump. This old river is a pure joy giver, thank God for the old St. John. There's nothing like a breeze in your face, ripples in the water going by. Watch the grass cut from the bald eagles flying high. They are waiting for a moment in time once there's a fish in his claw. Nature's so grand, you need to plan a morning on the old St. John. I see a deer grazing through the trees, a raccoon playing nearby. A pine crane standing oh so tall, getting ready, he's going to fly. It's a peaceful sight to see a bird in flight. This old river will give you his best. Around the next bend there will be no end. This river is a beautiful friend. The old cypress trees are now set free from the sawmills that cut them down. The towns they built along her bank, there's history all around. They are now standing proud up there where eagles nest. This old river's been here forever, flowing north, she is a bed. If you throw your trash in the river, you need to be ashamed to yourself. Just a little bit multiplied by 1,000 makes one heck of a mess. The old St. John's is not a place for tires, cans, and junk. Now and ever, let's stick together. Please keep it from being a dump. No, there's nothing like cruising down the river in the morning on the old St. John's, waiting for the fog to disappear in the rays of the morning sun, watching those gators flying on the bank with turtles on an old cypress stump.
This old river is a pure joy giver, thank God for the old St. John. Yes, this old river is a pure joy giver, thank God for the old St. John. That's the big one. That was very special. Thank you. All right, now's the promised Bill Donahue section where I come to you. Jim, Jim's thought didn't be perfect. Where's Jim? There he is. Let me walk back there. This is Mike's story time.
I'm Jim Shea, and Mike's been a lifelong friend of mine. We grew up together in Miami at Corpay, and my first real vivid memory of how great Mike is, we lived in an area near a golf canal ran through it. We both liked to fish, and the ranger at the golf course hated us because we weren't allowed on the property. He had a Jeep and he'd chase us everywhere. And I was fishing one day, and he was after me in the Jeep. I went over the bridge, and Mike was in the canal with his little rowboat, and pulled over. I jumped in. We flipped off the Ranger and headed off. But later, when Mike and I were in high school, the Ranger spotted us at the golf course and came over to confront us. We'd been fishing there for years. And it turned out that we both signed up for the golf team. And when he saw us, he couldn't do anything to us because we were there on, an official capacity. And about 2 weeks after that, we were playing a match against Coral Gables High, and Mike teed off, big hook, he had a big hook, and hook went over and broke the windshield in the Rangers. Wasn't planned, we weren't that good. We were lucky if we could break 100. No, Mike and I have been friends since grammar school. And Pat was a year ahead in school of my younger brother, and I was a year ahead of Mike. And I did some sailing with Mike. Pat was on the voyage. We went to the Bahamas, or tried to learn the Bahamas, and we wound up getting caught in a pretty good sized storm. And instead of making West End coming out of Miami, we wound up pulling in at Port Canaveral. We rode and rode and rode. We went right by West End, and then we just finally decided to turn east. We figured we'd hit land somewhere. We didn't have any, all we had was a radio direction finder in those days. He had an old Bahamian workboat, Lady Delphus, and he had that for years and lived on it for years and years. I helped him sail back from New Jersey a couple of falls on the Delphus, down through Delaware Bay and the Chesapeake and everything. But a great man, Mike, and very happy to have been a good friend of his. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll just go around the room. So, okay.
Hi, my name is Ed O'Donnell. I'm part of the Mahoney family. I've known him forever. My father introduced his father to his wife. That was back in 1947 in Baltimore, Maryland, where everybody was from then. We're all Baltimoreans, as they say. Real quick,
the Renaissance man thing, I had to pick up on this because when we were young, of course, you had interest in the opposite sex. And you'd go to bars and hope you'd meet one that you'd keep for a while. But anyway, Mike didn't go to pick up girls or meet girls. He went wenching. I always thought that was very Renaissance. And then, and as to his appetite for food, Maureen, if I get this wrong, you let me know, but I think you got it right. My wife and I were coming back from a season baseball game up in St. Lucie. I said, let's stop at Mahoney's. So we did. Mike wasn't there, but Maureen was. And I looked at the menu. First time I looked at the menu, and I said, Maureen, pumpernickel bread, sardines, and onions. Anything else? And she said, yeah. I said, does anybody ever order that? She goes, no, but Mike said if he ever had a restaurant, he'd have it on there. And he's the only one that eats it. I got it right? You have great. And just one last thing. People think of quirks as coming later in life. No. Mike is Mike back. Right when he got out of college. He took his dad and brother, they're racetrack legends. Pat wasn't just an employee, he's the vice president of the New York Racing Association, which is the biggest racing association in the world. But Mike had a breakfast drink that I'm sure none of you have ever had. Most people drink coffee, maybe tea. And one day this old fella, and so old then, Frankie Murray, stopped in to where they were living. It was in the morning, and Mike, being the gracious person that he is, said, can I get you something, Frankie? He said, yeah, I'll take a cup of coffee. Because Mike was drinking his breakfast drink. And we don't have coffee. He said, well, what are you drinking? Mike's breakfast drink. Rum, Ovaltine, and coconut milk. That's when Frankie left. Mike's comment to everyone was, can you imagine a weird guy like that drinking coffee in the morning when he could have this? Okay. That's right. With the Stewart contingent here, so, known Mike nearly 40 years, and I was just thinking back to the phone call I got from Maureen when this was all shaken down, and Mike was trying to say goodbye, and I wouldn't let him. I just refused to let him say goodbye, and he eventually did. And I said something to Maureen about, he drove the bus to the finish line, and I'll revise that. We had a joke between us that when we came to that final time, that we'd load up a little rowboat with a gallon of gas and a gallon of rum, and take it out on the Atlantic, and just when the rum was about out, we'd light a match and have our Irish Viking funeral by ourselves. And I think I'll revise it to Mike actually getting into that dinghy and taking off for the schooner in the sky, as he called it. That was his destination. He wanted to trade stories with all the pirates and the captains and all the seafarers. So I'm glad he's there to do that.
Schooner in the Sky is a song I think you should write. Yes. Okay. Who's next?
I actually actually am one of the few people that ate the sardines and pumpkin at Mahoney. Mike and I would often talk on Portuguese descent, and we talk about Portuguese, specifically the Azores, when my family was from and a house when I was a child. And I was the one that ate the real sardines. So Mike and I love them. And you follow me up here to Alaska.
Excuse me, I'm Tom Summers. Michael and I became friends in 1966. And what we had in common, among other things, is we were both rabid scuba divers. We were also sailors. And he ended up being president of the fraternity that I pledged because Michael was in the fraternity. And life went on, and one of the things that I'm very grateful for is Michael always was reaching out. He was always calling, he was always connecting. And actually 2 days before he passed, he called and I said, well, it's Mahoney's and I need a valve. And he said, yeah, I'm a little bit bewildered. And I said, Michael, I love you. And he said, yeah, Tom, I know that. That's why the hell I called you. So it's 1967, and he's in anthropology at the university. And we are like going throughout the state diving. And he says, let's do something different. Let's dive something where we can't die. And I said, yeah, how about Silver Springs? Ha ha ha. And he says, yeah, I'll get the scuba equipment from the anthropology department and we'll be on an anthropological expedition down in Marion County. And sure enough, we pulled it off. And we were like underneath those boats waving. One of the great pieces of life is just continually every couple months getting together and doing something with it. And he's enriched my life as he's enriched your life.
Thank you. I do want to ask a question. Did the Jameson come here to die? Oh, they did go on. He's still over here. Oh, yeah. We can still. We don't want that. We don't want that. It's been passed through the tables and it's made its way around. And we'll silent, we'll toast to Mike. So that's the Presbyterian here. Okay. All right, who's next? Anybody?
My name is Mary Carla McGrath Summers, and I met Michael at 93 when we married. I was an archivist for 35 years in Florida. And I want to tell you, being a local and original historian is a great gift. It's a gift of the Irish, and we all should be so lucky.
All right, well, yes.
My name is Carolyn Smith, and unfortunately, I was privileged to have known Michael on as most of you did. But indeed, I don't know a lot of you, but I also feel that I do because he talked about you a lot. He loved his friends and he talked about you and he honored all of you. He loved his friends. About a year ago, I went to a lecture and I was a little bit late, so I had to look for a seat. And way down in the front, there was a vacant chair. So I made my way down there and I sat down. And I listened to the lecture, hung on every word. It was a fine lecture. And when it was over, I stood up and I turned next to this person in khaki clothes. And I said, "Thank you, sir. I'm so glad you were quiet because I really wanted to hear the lecture." And I turned and got up and left. And the next Sunday in church, Palmer Kinzer came down from the choir in his choir room with a pad and a pen. And he said, "The gentleman," and he was a gentleman, that was sitting next to you at the lecture, thought I might know you. And he asked me if I would be able to ask Mike's permission to give me a telephone call because he wanted to invite me to something. And I said, "Well, Palmer, this sounds like something out of the 18th century. Is this guy okay?" And Palmer said, "He's the best." So I said, "Well, I'll give it a shot." So I gave Palmer my phone number. And the very next day, Mike called me and asked me, and he also, "And Palmer, I need to know her name, and does she drink wine?" So the next day, he invited me to something, and since that time, we were together nearly every day of the week. We ate together, we hiked together, we walked together. When I was driving to his doctor at St. Augustine for so long, we walked the beaches, miles and miles of the beaches. And we ate together nearly every night. He would cook for me at his house, or he'd come to my house. And then, although Mike said, "I have no use whatsoever for television," then he'd say, "But do you have any of those good nature programs that you take? I would like to see one of those." And so he would come many nights and sit on the floor and watch nature programs. Mike was, I think, my best friend. I will miss him very much, and I know you all will.
Carolyn, thank you for that. I'm just amazed at Mike's old school approach to courting.
I often drove him to the grocery store, particularly when he needed to buy wine, because that's where I carry on the California. So shortly before he passed, we had a bunch of rainy weather here in Atlanta. And I hadn't got to the grocery store, and I know he hadn't either. And so I called one day and said, "Mike, I'm almost out of cat food, and I'm not going to go down canned tuna wild and have a spoiled cat. So I'm going to make a run to the grocery store. Would you like to come?" And he said, "No, it's raining too hard." And I said, "Well, do you need anything?" And he said, "No, I'm set. I'm okay. Thanks anyway." And a few minutes later, the phone call rang again, and it was Mike, and he said, "Wait a minute, I thought it's something I need." And so I'm thinking, okay, because I bought for him often, he probably wants 4 bananas with no more than 7 to 9 black spots on them. And he probably wants avocados. Avocados. He had to tell me. He said, and he had to use both hands, and he would point at me and say, "I want them, you know how they're supposed to feel, kind of like young goats." That's how he described avocados, young goats. And again, a few days before he passed, I had called him, and I can't.
That's a lot, though. It's very, very long. All right, friends, is there anyone else would like to tell the next story? Anybody? Yeah, we've had a lot, there's more to come, but,
Well, to say that Michael Riggs Mahoney was a purely unique and singular individual goes without saying. I think everybody already has acknowledged that. And part of that is because he really did know a little bit about everything. He really did. But there was more to him than that, than just the knowledge and the ability to communicate and the beauty and then the strongness and the kindness. And my mother died a few years ago, and Michael had the opportunity to meet her. It was in 2020. And I got a card in the mail one day, and I opened it up, and it was a beautiful sympathy card. And I opened it up, and it was full of handwritten messages from Michael. Now, who sends sympathy cards anymore? Social media has kind of wiped all of that out. And then just this past summer, he sent a Saratoga postcard and was saying what a great time he was having in Saratoga and what a great time he was having. So he's one of a kind. People don't do that anymore. And he will be so far missed, and he is an icon of this area, and we all honor him today.
okay. This has been amazing. A tribute to somebody that, well, this is a gathering of people who loved him the most and knew him the best. And that's a great thing when those folks can speak the way we have. All right, Linda, we made it. We're early. So what last minute thing can we say? Other than the fact that we're going to go next door now, this thing's not over. But what? Yeah, okay. We want to. Okay, all right. Anything else to do in here? Do we have an instruction about the dishes? Just leave them?
No, actually, without being too big a crowd, if people could maybe put plates together, and if you just took your plates in there, then later on we can.
Okay. In other words, boss your own table. All right, friends, thank you so much for this. What a great day we've had. I look forward to seeing you next door. Thank you.